Hey everyone, it's Brenda back again with another episode of Three Uniques. I'm really excited to introduce you to Lars Schmidt. Hey Lars, how are you doing today?
Hey Brenda, good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So just so everyone knows, Lars is the author and host of Redefining HR. So we'll hear a little bit more about that. And he's also the founder of Amplify, which is an HR executive search and consultancy company. And you're based in Virginia.
I am, yeah, Northern Virginia, just outside of DC.
Awesome, but you work all over.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
My clients are all around the world, and work is spread out. So here are my roots, but my mind and my work is all over.
Cool. And so tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I'm the founder of Amplify and host of the Redefining HR podcast and author of the upcoming book Redefining HR. Been in the industry for about 20 years. Most of that time, having the pleasure of work with some companies that are pretty progressive in their approaches around recruiting and talent. So I spent the first 13 years of my career in corporate in-house roles, and for the last 7 years as an entrepreneur and founder. Most importantly, I'm a dad to amazing young girls and a husband. And yeah, I feel really fortunate to have this interesting kind of vantage point on the field and the industry of HR specifically, where I get to, talk to dozens of people that are really pushing the boundaries of the field and examine how they do what they do and kind of their stories and their journeys along the way.
Now, Redefining HR wasn't your first book. You've written a book before. So what was the impetus to write the second book? I mean, I know that like sometimes people just get into that, that energy and they just want to write another one, but was there something that was driving you to write Redefining HR?
Yeah, there was. I mean, so the first book I wrote, I co-authored Employer Branding for Dummies. So, earlier in my career, the majority of my focus was in the space of employer brand. And so I collaborated with Richard Mosley at University to write that book. Was really proud of that book, and it captured my interests and my focus at the time. But I've, since that book, I've done a lot more work outside of, that kind of niche area of employer brand. And, really the driver of writing this book is I've been in this position where I've been interviewing CHROs, for my podcast and for my Fast Company publications and other projects I've worked on. I've been traveling the world through HR open source and other initiatives, meeting with HR kind of operators and practitioners all around the world, and kind of understanding where they were struggling, where they were winning, what were some of their barriers from getting to, good practices to great practices. And so the book was really the culmination of all of those things. I kind of, in every one of those podcast conversations and every one of those Fast Company articles, I was able to spotlight a specific aspect of modern HR. But that those rarely tied together to tell a broader story. And so the book was me kind of really going back through hundreds of conversations that I've had over the last 7 years, and research and white papers and all kinds of things that I've been involved with to capture, like, this is in essence what modern HR looks like. This is what it can be. This is how it's evolved. And then really packing it full of practitioners, in the seat doing the job now. I'm a consultant. I've been out of corporate for 7 years. So I think that the landscape of HR books, there are a lot of books out there from analysts or pundits or writers or people that haven't actually been in that seat and don't know what that job is like today, especially today, meaning 2020. So the book was a way for me to harness a range of voices across a lot of disciplines and bring them together to paint a picture of what modern HR can look like.
I love that. And also acknowledge, validate the great work that is being done in the field of HR. Because sometimes HR can get a bad rap, and, because it's like kind of like the beginning of a relationship and it's the end of the relationship. It always starts.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I'm me, like I'm an optimist. I'm a huge advocate for modern HR practices. I'm a big fan of the field, and I've been lucky that I've been able to spend most of my career at that leading edge. So, the people who are business operators focused on people, they're transformative, they're brilliant, they're creative. They're all these things that are very against the legacy stereotypes of what HR is. And so for me, I'm hoping the book is really, a call to action. I think as HR practitioners read the book, hopefully they will see themselves in these stories, because to me, it's an empowering book about what's possible in the field and what our future holds for us. So, I name some of those legacy stereotypes, but I always contrast them with, okay, like, yes, we used to be known for this and we had a bad rap for X, but actually here's where we are now and here's where you can be. And so really trying to make sure that the framing was positive, because that's how I view the field and our future.
Nice. And where can we find the book? All the right places like Amazon?
All the right places, yeah. So it's available now for pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Books. You can purchase directly from the publisher, Kogan Page out of London. So yeah, you can pretty much just Google Redefining HR book, and wherever it pops up or you'd like to find local bookseller or anything like that, you can purchase there.
Awesome. And it's coming out in January.
January, yes. It'll be out in January 3rd in the UK and January 25th in the rest of the world. So the publisher is based out of the UK, so they get first dibs, I guess. But yeah, it'll be available everywhere on the 25th of January.
Awesome. And so you're here today to share your 3 uniques with us. I can't wait. Let's hear them.
Yeah. So my 3 uniques are curiosity, creativity, and community.
Nice. Okay. So
I lead into the C theme, I guess. Apparently,
yeah.
The letter of the episode is C.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. There's actually, I've had a couple guests that have picked C. It seems to be like the letter of 2020 right now, but that's awesome. So let's start at the top. The first one's curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always been innately curious about how things operate, and not just how things within kind of my immediate, scope or work operate, but things beyond that. Because to me, that there's so many great, and again, even applying this to the field of HR, the field of HR traditionally had been pretty insular, right? People kind of rose up from within the function. I think the field of HR is there's massive influx of people from other roles, different disciplines, different experiences, different functions within the business. And I like my own, liking my own kind of approach and unique in the same way. I don't want to just know about HR. I want to know about product. I want to know about design. I want to know about UX. I want to know about, financial. So like understanding a more well-rounded sense of what's out there, I think allows you to bring a more, representative and informed viewpoint into the problems you're trying to solve. So, if I get excited about something, I want to just consume it. I want to know how it works. I want to know who are the leading thinkers on that particular discipline. I want to read their stuff. I want to read what they're reading and who they're recommending. So, it's the ability to kind of, branch out from an idea that you're interested in to really understand that on a couple different dimensions. And to me, I think that's what feeds the, curiosity, and something I've always had, from my youth, and it certainly serves me well now in kind of the role that I'm in and in these dynamic times.
Very cool. Yeah. And obviously a springboard for the book that you've written. So that's awesome. Creativity.
Yeah. I mean, so creativity is the ability to kind of, harness that and create interesting things. It was interesting. I was a marketing, like a lot of people who've been in the field of HR for a while. I'm, in my I'm in my 3rd decade. I'm beyond 20 years. So I'm on technically decade 3 at this point. But I was a marketing and international business major way back in college. I always thought to get into advertising or some sort of a, kind of design oriented space. Obviously I'm not. I'm in the field of HR, but HR has actually become a creative discipline. And we talked earlier in the show about my kind of roots and employer brand and kind of how that had been my focus. That was a transformational shift for recruiting, where recruiting became a creative discipline. We're creating videos, we're designing recruitment marketing collateral, and I, designers are my spirit animals. I wish I was, a designer sometimes if I had my career to do over again. I'm not. What I'm good at is kind of hacking my way to using different tools to, allow me to feel like a designer, even though I don't, I have an eye for a designer, even though I don't have the true skills. I use tools to hack my way to it. But the idea of bringing creativity, looking at, traditional problems and trying to solve them in a different way, not being tied to the legacy dogma of how X, Y, or Z is supposed to get done, and having kind of a blank canvas and be like, okay, I know we've always done it this way, but do we have to do it that way? And I think, it's just like the curiosity naturally feeds into the creativity, because I'm always, interested in like, is this really the best way to do this, or could we do something else? And so I think that those two uniques kind of complement each other really well.
Nice. And then your third is community.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always been, I guess my interest in communities really stemmed from my benefit from communities. Coming up earlier in my career, having the ability to plug into different, networking groups, informal associations, things like that, to help advance my, my learning, my skills, my capability, my insights, and it really allowed me to, at a very early age in my career, understand the value and the power of collective intellect. When you can bring people together to solve problems, and everybody has their own unique lens on X. Everybody has their own unique background that helps them arrive on that lens. But when you can bring different people together and you can collaborate and you can learn from each other, there's so much power to be had there. And so whether it was initiatives like way earlier in my career, I was on the board of the Entertainment Human Resources Network in Los Angeles, which was a huge networking group, mostly of recruiters in entertainment. Saw huge value there to benefiting from being plugged into networks of conference speakers and bloggers when I started writing and speaking, to co-founding HR Open Source with Ambrosia Vertesi and building that into a community. To I'm in a range of other communities now. So that is I both host communities, I'm plugged into communities. And ecosystems. And I think that there's just so much power in that. The job can be really lonely sometimes, especially, not just in HR, but me, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I don't have employees. I don't have a team that I work with. I definitely miss that aspect of being in corporate roles, but I found community in other avenues. And that has really been a huge accelerant on my own career and my own ideas and my own, perspectives on the field and what's possible. So that's a huge part of my orientation.
Awesome. And overall growth, right? As a leader,
Yeah.
It's like you learn from other people always, like the best leaders out there that are learning from others. So that's awesome. And I love hearing all of them together, your 3 C's, because it does sound, knowing you, it does sound like you actually live those 3 C's every single day. Like your 3 uniques are woven into what you do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that it's, as you look at kind of defining your 3 C's, it's an interesting perspective. So even if you're not a guest on this show, it's something worth thinking about. But it is interesting. It's a way to kind of encapsulate a lot of what motivates you and what drives you. And I think in particular, 2020 has been a pretty introspective year for a lot of us. So hopefully it's allowed us to really spend some time and think about that stuff, because the normal pace of life and work and everything else, sometimes it's hard for us to find those introspective moments. But there's a lot of value there when you can. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple sort of last questions that I have for you. So what's a habit or a belief that you've adopted in, say, the last 2 years that served you really well?
Actually getting up, I was never a morning person at all. And probably like a lot of people, my balance between, work and life and healthy living and fitness, has always been, some things would be higher, some things would be lower. And about 2 years ago, actually, I made a commitment to myself to, not quite become a morning person, but to get up every weekday, at least at 6 a.m. and exercise. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've done that every single day. Like I've definitely slipped like a lot of people, but that's been my core approach for the last 2 years. And it's just, for me, it's been a really healthy way to kind of start my day, just to kind of get it out of the way. Like I do enjoy exercise and fitness and that sort of thing. So like, it's not that that's like a drag, but getting out of bed to do it is really hard. Yeah. And over the last 2 years, I've really kind of been able to build the discipline to do that. And it's made my days, so much better, because I just, obviously there's a boost of confidence and doing a thing that, you need to do, but sometimes can be hard to do, getting out of bed to do it. And then also I have the whole rest of my day for both, family time and work time. And so that's been pretty transformative for me.
Cool. And thinking that this will probably air in 2020, in January, in the new year.
Yep.
If I was to give you a billboard and you could put anything on it, and it could be anywhere in the world that you would want it to be, where would it be and what would be on the billboard?
Oh boy. I feel shameless in saying this, but I'd probably put a a billboard for the Redefining HR book that's coming out in
Yeah.
January. You know, book marketing is always weird. Like for me, I love creating stuff. I love, you know, again, like obviously I've got a podcast. I write for Fast Company back when traveling was safe and travel around the world and do speaking. I do a range of open source projects. The creation of content and connections and ideas is something that I love to do. The promotion of those things is not something that I love to do. And that, you know, so there's always that balance. And, you know, like you're a content creator, we're recording content right now. Like it's, you know, that line between like feeling overly self-promotional and balancing that with, okay, like here's the thing that I put a lot of work into that I know will be helpful and valuable to people.
Right.
So you want it's their benefit to know about it, right? Like hopefully you believe that way in the content you're creating, and I do. But it's still the, you know, the idea, like especially this being my first, you know, solo book. You know, I'm kind of working on my publicity and marketing tour, and back in January that involved going to London and lots of great cities around the world to meet friends and talk about the book, and that's not happening now. So finding other digital ways to replicate that, and so you know, I'm trying to kind of put in my mind, like, it's okay. Like, I'm going to have to get over the reluctance to be like overly self-promotional as it relates to the book, because it is helpful, I think, to get the book in front of people who work in this space or who are interested in this space or who run companies and want to build great organizations that are built on people and practices. So yeah, long way of saying probably a you know, relatively shameless you know, billboard you know, somewhere to help people find the book.
Yeah, but I love the context behind your choice, because I think it also reflects you. You're very humble all the time. Whenever I've reached out to you for help, you're always really straight up about, hey, talk to this person or look at this source. And so I think it's actually, you know, I think it will help a lot of people be able to have access to all those leaders of HR that are doing amazing things. So it's humble of you to say that it might be awkward or, you know, shameless or whatever, but I also think it's going to add value. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And Lars, just as a wrap up, thanks for, you know, being on today. I really appreciate you taking the time out and sharing your 3 uniques with us, and just even talking about your approach to them. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Brenda. This was a fun conversation. It's always good to catch up with you. So thanks so much for having me on.
Okay, well, take care. And for everybody that's listening, just remember, like Lars, go out there and share your 3 uniques. If there's somebody out there that needs what you've got, there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. Let's hear what your 3 uniques are and show them on social media. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Lars.
Take care.